All right, let's get into it. Dr. Adia Winfrey, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. It's a little scrambly, but
It's that
I don't.
season though,
Yes, that it is a season. Idle hands and all that, right? So we staying busy.
that part.
Thank you for taking some time out. Sort of a quick turnaround. I wanted to get you on here. We've talked before in the past. For those who haven't watched the full, talk that we did probably a couple years ago now. Please do. And if not, we're going to have Dr. Dia come back and visit us and catch us up on all things, the wondrous things that you've done and are doing. I wanted to get you on now just in a timely fashion because of the upcoming Jubilee celebration in Selma, something that you've been intimately involved with as well as other things statewide. But during the yearly Jubilee celebration is the right word, I guess, right? Celebration and also
In this season, we literally are like in the spot that the people were in 60 years ago
yeah,
on March 7th, 1965, unfortunately.
right.
So it's a commemoration of sorts, but also a call to action.
Fair enough. That's why I said
Yeah.
maybe this year might, well, most years there's still a little bit of that.
Exactly.
Right. Fair enough. Wanted to get the wording right. But it is a celebration. It's a celebration of community and of, culture and of coming together. And like you said,
Absolutely.
be a call to action. And part of the Jubilee goings on has been the Intergenerational Hip Hop Symposium workshop,
Political summit.
political summit. That's the word I'm looking for. Hip Hop
Yes.
Political Summit. Please tell the folks what that entails and what's that going to look like this year and what it's looked like in past years, if you would.
Yeah. So the Intergenerational Hip Hop Political Summit is part of the actual festival stage. So there's a street festival that goes on Saturday, and so we'll be on stage from 2 to 4. There will be performers. We have Fabo coming through, gonna turn up one time, as well as Princess from Crime Mob. But and then more Alabama artists, including Poke Dog and E Heard, Shake the Field. But we also have speakers. And so one of our speakers just confirmed is the Dungeon family's own Backbone. And so he'll be able to talk about just that process and what they were able to do as young people and how we can really continue that energy and tie it in with what's going on with politics. We'll
Mm,
have a foot soldier there, Miss Annie Pearl Avery. She was the only person arrested on March 7th, 1965 in Selma,
mm,
Alabama that day. And so she's one of our advisors. She was a member of SNCC. And
yep.
so she advises a lot of our work. And so just a number of other people, Ant Ski out of Birmingham, Shar Bates out of Atlanta, a number of powerful speakers that are going to touch the stage. But the highlight of it at the end, and also a tribute
Mm,
to Baba Bilal Sunni Ali, rest in peace. He transitioned on December the 30th, and a lot of people might not know, but he was part of our committee for this event since its
mm,
inception. And he always gave us the charge of having a dope event. I mean, that's gonna happen off tops. But he
right.
was like, let us not just focus on March. We have to get together in between jubilees, and we have to stay, with the mindset that we're using culture for more than entertainment. And so
Right.
he just always like drive that message home to us and how he lived and just the advice he would give. So we're doing a tribute to Baba. And so at the end, we're going to be giving details about our call to action. So that's what we're looking forward to talking about when I
Right.
return. But yeah, it's going to be action packed. We only have 2 hours, but it's going
Mm,
to be very fun, turn lit, but spiritually uplifting, and hopefully we politicize some people out there. Help people
yeah.
understand, what type of time we're really on right now.
Right. Right. That get them activated and
There you
engaged.
go. Yeah.
The last political cycle, a lot of the work, especially, again, your work in Alabama specifically,
Mhm.
but, throughout the land, there was a lot of work trying to get folks, politically activated. Some folks may have gone in a direction you didn't expect. There's some
Mhm.
work to bring them back into a fold. I'm just saying, I'm trying to
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
vague, but you know what I'm
I
saying.
know what you're saying. Talk about it.
Um, so I think this is helpful to that. There's a lot of folks that believe that hip hop, myself included, had been a little bit tapped into by unscrupulous folks or people with
Mhm.
less than favorable ideas for the community from whence hip hop came. But somehow you saw an alignment there. Just some thoughts about that in the last political cycle, just because you've worked so much of incorporating hip hop into the political movement, to see some of it on a grand stage that you wouldn't have maybe expected. What were your thoughts about that?
That's actually a really, really important question that you asked because um, we all recognize, like as we alluded to earlier, that rights have been taken away for many years. Like, yeah, things look like it's hitting the fan now, but this is not overnight, you know.
Right.
And a lot of things those of us in the hip hop community have been making noise about for decades, and
True.
it went unheard. And so sometimes, you know, people just feel like they want to do something to be heard, and you know, wonder how much of that uh, was a motivation behind people's political choices. But the flip side of that is the issue is people really don't understand the basics of civics,
Okay.
because when you make it about civics and take the personalities out of it and how we can all get swept up in the entertainment of it all,
Sure.
and let's be honest, you know, Donald Trump, if nothing else, he's an entertainer. Like, I grew up on him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I grew up
Yeah.
with him
I'm from New
on
York. I'm
TV.
from New York, so we've been knew
So in
him.
real talk, yeah, in real life, like
Yeah.
seriously. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like he knows how to manipulate that. He gets it.
Yeah.
He knows what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
us as hip hop, it's like we're in a unique place where we can use all of that to our advantage, but we have to be clear about what we're working with. And I feel like
Right.
with this event, that's what we do. We help those of us within the culture recognize, like, man, we're way beyond trying to judge you for your music. We want you to understand the power you have. And then
Right.
for the older people, it's like we want them to understand, okay, we honor that you have a wealth of knowledge, experience. Teach us. You know, we want to help carry on what it is that you've done, but also
Right.
accept what we're doing and see the connection to what you were a part of. And so that's why it's been a blessing to
Yeah.
have Miss Annie Pearl join the team. And people
Hmm.
trip out because she be like, yeah, y'all know I'm doing this hip hop thing. When she's talking to her SNCC friends, they're like, this
Right.
hip hop thing, like, what do you mean? But
Right.
I mean, she's like all in for it, and it's been
Right.
great.
But
Yeah.
it's really the natural evolution in some ways of those
Yeah.
movements.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
sense to many of us, and for those who don't, it's gonna be good to see it play out, and they'll make those connections as it
There you
goes.
go. Hmm.
The intergenerational focus is super important because, as we talked about before, and as we talk about often,
Hmm.
there is that intergenerational gap between, fans of the music. There's always this push and pull, but also
Hmm.
those folks that may have been jaded, older folks that have been jaded, to
Hmm.
say, well, we know hip hop has that revolutionary spirit. We know that we saw, shades of that all through its, first 25, 30 years, but it
Exactly.
doesn't feel sometimes like it still has that power and it still has that ability. Meanwhile, 900 million people talking about a Super Bowl performance.
Come
So
on now.
it
Yeah.
still exists, and it doesn't even
Hmm.
have to be on that grand stage. It still exists in the town halls. It still exists in the festivals in the
Exactly.
cities and towns across America. And your work has been testament to that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, you know, if we get back to the roots of who we are as a culture, we've never asked for permission. We always
Right.
just bum rushed. And so it's like we
Right.
got to keep that bum rush energy alive, especially now, and just do the thing. You know, we
Yeah.
don't need permission.
Yeah. We'll talk about it, the call to action, and exactly what comes out of the thing. I want to invite you
Hmm.
back for that.
Hmm.
Just catch me up very quickly on your organization and the work. You've had some legislative wins in the past that we talked about on the show
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
Transform Alabama.
Hmm.
And I just want to know kind of like where those efforts stand. What are you working on these days besides the summit at the Jubilee?
Yeah, so one of the great wins that we got this election cycle was winning the second congressional district. And when I say winning, I mean Black Alabamians got a candidate of their choice. And so
Mm.
that was part of a
Mm.
long fight that went to the Supreme Court, where that case was won. And it was just a whole experience. And actually, the plaintiffs are still having to go to court for that. The
Mm.
opposition is still challenging that new map. But the great thing is that we won the district. So it was proof that if you give people a fair map, they will turn out and they will vote. And so, taking that momentum, what we're doing now is putting our full focus on the basics of civic engagement. I mean,
Right.
like all the way down to just what are the branches of government and what do they do. And
Yeah.
so we do that in the way that we do with our Project Heat program, which is Heal, Elevate, and Transform. We go to the community, we do a workshop, watch a movie, and then we throw a party. And
Right.
and we have the people who complete the group invite their families to the party, and we check their
Right.
voter registration status and let a lot of people know that they can vote even though they've had felonies. You know, a lot of people don't
Right.
know that even though the state will tell you you'll never vote again, that's not
Right.
true. And
Right.
so we use that as an opportunity, and it's just amazing to do that. And so that's what our focus is in 2025, is taking Project Heat all over the state,
Yeah.
and really just, you know, elevating hip hop in our walk and not just our talk. Like, we're not just
Yeah.
saying that hip hop is this tool. We're actually using it and getting out there and doing it.
Indeed. And this is obviously because we don't have civic education in schools as
Mm-hmm.
much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They say they want to put it back, get what's the word? Patriotic civic engagement
Exactly.
back in the schools, but
Yeah.
that's very vague, and we don't know if that's really what we want. So we have to kind of fill in those gaps in the
Yeah.
ways that we can out in the community and on the streets. Yeah.
Make it practical to people. Like,
Yeah.
just, I mean, you know, we just make it plain, you know,
Yeah.
and people know what they want from their politicians, but are you asking the right politician for what it is
Mm,
that you want? Because every issue is a voting issue, but you
sure.
want to make sure you're asking the right person for that thing that you want. So, you
Yeah.
know, just
Yeah.
helping people understand on the most basic level who does what.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I'm outside of Atlanta, as you know these days, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple towns around here. What they have is sort of a citizens academy, like a citizens
Mm,
government academy, and it's run by the
nice.
government, it's small towns in the Atlanta metro, and like so you can apply for it. It's free, but they pick a cohort. And they're adults and not kids necessarily, but it's just as important that we know what the hell's going on, so we can talk to our young people
Absolutely.
about what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a really great program, and it sounds like it's the sort of thing you're doing, except that it's actually kind
Yeah.
of sponsored by the government,
Wow.
which could go either way. But it seems to be honest and saying, hey, listen, we want you to work with us. We need you to know how we do things, and
That's
and
pretty
why there's no
good.
Whole Foods in your neighborhood, or why there's this road isn't gotten paved yet, or whatever. And let
Yeah.
us sit with each of the departments of the city to understand what's going on, and
Oh,
and,
that's
and so
good.
it's great. So it's that kind of thing. We have to fill these gaps in whatever way we can, because our young people aren't being taught. And to be honest, as grown as, well, you've been in the mix, you
Come
ran
on,
first,
but listen,
but
but we didn't
still,
know. We
we
weren't
didn't know.
taught
We
for
don't know.
real.
We know. And
Yeah.
I talked to Representative Jamal Bowman on this show, and
Oh, wow.
he was like, listen, like, we didn't know that, like, no one's running against the incumbent in this district. Like, they're just running unopposed. And no one knows this. And he says, so,
Yep.
you got to know what's happening so that, well, if no one's running against them, then they're going to win. But maybe
Yep.
I can get involved. Maybe, so it's
Yep.
just having a basic knowledge of, like you said, the functions and how things go that we just don't get, because we're stuck watching, the
Mhm.
national news, and only top level
Exactly.
issues, federal issues, and
Yep.
then bark, 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 bark back and forth. And we don't
Yep.
know down here on the local level. And again, proof is that you've seen some wins, some
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
wins
Yeah. Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
place that, sometimes gets written off as, red forever and unwinnable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And we're
Yeah.
changing that for sure.
I hear that. Well, it's always inspiring to talk to you and hear from you, and to get an idea of just how possible that work is if
Hmm.
you put in the work. So it's got to
There
be
you
done.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. So we
Yeah. Yeah.
respect you and honor you for doing so. So
Thank
just
you.
once again, give me a little bit of a not just the summit, but the rest of what's planned for the Jubilee. I'm sure you're
Yeah. Yeah.
well aware,
Yeah.
and what
Yeah.
people can
Yeah.
expect coming from the beautiful city of Selma this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. So everything starts tomorrow, Thursday, March the 6th. It's going to open with the mass meeting. March 7th is the actual anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And so it's going to be activities all day. There'll be a mock trial and a public conversation about gun violence that's going to happen at 7 that night. On Saturday, like I said, there's a street festival all day, music festival. Hip Hop Summit will be from 2 to 4. There is a parade Saturday morning that begins at 9. And at the conclusion of the parade, there's going to be a backwards march for the currently and formerly incarcerated. So it's a
Mm,
full day. Freedom Flame Awards that night, and then the reenactment of the bridge crossing on Sunday, starting the pre-march rally will begin at noon Central
mm.
Time. All this is Central Time at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, many of our, folk that in the hip hop community are also in the social justice world, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
crossover there. And as we know, as you know, and you have, proven just by your deeds and actions that, having that hip hop, spirit and mentality can actually help these efforts, amplify these efforts in a way that
yes.
really can help make them effective.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And it's that time, we all have gifts
Yeah.
and things to contribute. So it's all
Yep.
hands on deck.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, listen, I will continue to spread your gospel around as much as I can. You come back
Yeah,
and see me, in a few weeks. We'll talk about it in greater detail
absolutely.
and what like the plan is. There's, as you know, there's so many people that feel like they want to be involved and have to get involved. And there's a little bit of confusion as to what that might mean if
Hmm.
you're sort of on the left leaning side of things and you're trying to push back, you're trying to make the moves. So I assume that's part of what this is going to be about, trying to consolidate some of these efforts and find a way forward that we can all kind of, find our place in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all will be surprised. We're excited.
All right. I look forward to hearing more about it. Thank you again for
Absolutely.
coming to me on such a
Thank you,
short
Manny.
notice. And I look
Yeah,
forward. I'm trying to make it out there. I'm trying to juggle some scheduling things
yeah.
because you're not too far. You're not too far. You're down the block.
Yeah, not that bad.
Not that
Yeah, quick
bad.
little car ride.
So if I see you, I see you. And if not, let's talk again soon and keep on,
Absolutely.
getting these messages out as best that I can.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your support.
Thank you. I appreciate that appreciation, Dr. Dia.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon.
All right, peace.
Manny Faces. You sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick for